show.
Yeah, yeah.
Steve and Colin.
Hell yeah.
Doing a good show.
That's right.
Steve and Colin.
Right on.
Gonna do a good show.
Hell yes.
Steve and Colin. You just never know.
No, you don't.
Wow.
No, you don't. Yes, you do. Or do you?
I like that your cat made the first sound, the first live sound of the very first episode.
Beautiful. Synchronicity.
Well, it was kind of maybe an aggressive move.
Okay. So for those of you that are not familiar with us, who are you and why are you
Yeah. How do you not know us?
Yeah, turn the channel. We'll introduce ourselves as I am Colin and that is Steve, and we do the Steve and Colin show. And periodically, maybe more frequently.
Stephen Colin's very good show. We've
Yes.
updated it. We've updated it. Before it was just good. Now it's very good.
Well, actually, you don't recall, but 10 years ago it was just mediocre.
Oh, well, yeah. First it was mediocre. Well, for a long time it was mediocre. Some would say through the whole thing.
Yeah. The judge is out on that. But we talk about stuff that's interesting to us and to you for sure, because we took a poll and we're only talking about things that are interesting to other people and also
Yes.
In this show we decided to call something like "Let me introduce myself," ourselves. What the hell are we calling it?
No, we're calling it our firsts.
Our firsts. Yes. I was going to call it, I thought of Cherry Poppin' Daddies. Do you remember that band?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I saw them a couple times. They were great.
Really? See,
Yeah.
that's a name that wouldn't fly now. It didn't occur to me at the time how wrong that was.
Yeah, I wonder if they're, they've changed their name post.
Yeah.
Just like, the drive-by truckers are wanting to change their name. They feel bad about, I don't know, because drive-bys tend, I don't know. I don't know exactly, but apparently the founder of the band was apologizing for this immaturity of the band name.
Right. Apologizing to nobody. Nobody cares. But I think Cherry Poppin' Daddies changed their name to the Redskins. So that's
Yes.
But we're talking about firsts of first albums and first movies, first by directors, first acting jobs by actors, and the first books by authors, or a book.
I like how you pronounce it actor. Not very many people do that.
Yeah, I like to take the time. I like to articulate.
Yeah.
This is a learning show.
Yes, it's a grammar lesson and a arts appreciation show.
Right. You'll be smarter at the end of it. I guarantee it.
You'll be smarter about halfway through it and then be dumber at the end of it.
At the end, yeah. We like to end with dumbness. Always. Yeah.
First, our films and albums where the first album or the first movies, either not necessarily were the best one critically, but the one that affected us the most. Is that the idea?
Affected us and affected other people, and affected maybe the medium that they were in. It was influential, perhaps.
Yep.
Yeah. You want to get started?
Sure. I will start with let's see. One I think is on both of our lists. No, I can't do that. I'll leave that one to you because you have that one set up. I'm gonna go with a teen sex comedy. I guess it's world famous. But your eyes got big there, and I'm going to just put the image of it, if I could find it, on the screen first.
You should know the word sex triggers me, so be careful with that.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Sorry. Well, as long as you keep it below the frame. Anyways, the still frame I have for this is actually the name of it, so it'll be it won't be a surprise, but here it is. Yeah, I found this nice little photo online. That's probably long enough to keep up before the censors come. Fast Times at Ridgemont High. Most of the posters had just Sean Penn as the image, or Phoebe Cates, but this one was, I think, probably someone made in their basement. Fast Times at Ridgemont High was Amy Heckerling's first film. Right. And
Cameron Crowe's also first.
What did he do on it?
Didn't
Was
he
he?
write it, or am I thinking of something else?
Oh, maybe he did. I don't know. I'll have
Thought
to
he
look
did.
that. Maybe. Um. Anyways, yeah. That I mean, came out in 1984, which would have been either in my junior or senior year of high school. It was a very influential time. I remember seeing it in the theater and just like, just all the stars that were in this movie that no one knew at the time. I mean, I don't think, I'm not sure if it was Jennifer Jason Leigh's first. I mean, that's the first, it was Nicolas Cage's first appearance in a film was this film. It
Right.
was, I think maybe Eric Stoltz's first appearance. Maybe Jennifer Jason Leigh. I'm not quite sure. But Phoebe Cage, Judge Reinhold. I mean, I can't think of very many films that had so many future stars in one movie that was such an iconic film.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was kind of like the Outsiders or the Rumblefish or those kind of movies. But I mean, the thing about that movie that was so impressed me at the time is it was. I mean, you call it teen comedy, I guess it was, but it's not. I don't put it in the same category as you would put like a Breakfast Club or 16 Candles, just because it was. I mean, yeah, it had some silliness to it, but also, I mean, an abortion. I mean,
Yeah.
that's some pretty like serious stuff for a teen movie, and it was handled really well. And of course, Jason Lee was amazing in it.
Yeah.
I saw, I think it was Sean Penn that was talking about how when they wanted him to audition, and he said, "I'm not going to audition, but I know that guy. I know that guy. I was friends with that guy, and trust me, I'll be that guy." And he hadn't done anything to that point, so they really had to roll the dice and go, "God, should we trust this guy?" And of course, it worked out pretty well.
I'm gonna look up whether I don't think that was his first film though, because I remember looking up and Sean Penn had done something else. Maybe it was he in Bad Boys before this.
Yeah,
I,
yeah,
maybe he was in Bad Boys.
yeah.
Um,
Any kind of a reputation to do comedy, I don't think. Maybe that was it.
oh yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But yeah, I could see that. That's one of the few movies I could pretty much watch from beginning to end, anytime it comes on. Like maybe not every day, but every week for sure.
Yeah. And the soundtrack, which is so amazing. Two
Yeah.
two record soundtrack,
Yes.
which I have and I love it. Yeah, some really good stuff on there.
Yeah, there's like 20 classic scenes. I mean, almost every scene in the movie is a classic scene.
Right. And it does kind of play into one of my musical first later on is the Phoebe Cates scene, which I think it's moving in stereo. Is the
That's right. That's right.
cars when she slow-mo comes out of the pool, which I
Yes.
think is emblazoned on every certainly like
Yes.
boy's mind.
Yes. That and Jennifer Jason Leigh later on.
Right.
But what's your first pick for first movie?
First pick for a movie. Let's go with.
Oh, nice. Nice blurry window into the 13 and a half floor. Wait, 13 and a half, right?
Oh, yeah, something like that.
8 and a half?
Right. That was like my big memory of that movie. I haven't seen this movie since it came out, and it kind of surprised me because it's such a great movie, and I remember really enjoying it when it came out. But I have not gone back and watched it again, which I definitely need to do. So it was the first directed film by Spike Jonze and first screenplay by Charlie Kaufman.
And if you don't know what it is and don't want to
Oh, sorry about that. Yeah,
wait.
that was being John Malkovich. Yeah, because the other, I think the poster was just a whole bunch of people with John Malkovich masks that they're holding up, like a big like audience of people with, which I thought was too on the nose. But yeah, because for me, just that claustrophobic, weirdly like you were saying, like
Yeah. I remember getting the DVD when that came out. What year was that? Do you know? Was that mid 90s, late 90s?
when was it?
Whatever, whenever it was. 99.
Yeah.
I remember getting the DVD, and then in the extras, they had the making of, and they showed how they made that the set of that half floor and how the actors had to crouch in it, and even the filmmaker, they were all crouched in there just trying to film. Did not look comfortable.
I know they had to like de-pretty up Cameron Diaz. That was a big thing of like, let Cameron Diaz look kind of dowdy or kind of mousy or whatever, which is kind of funny. Nowadays, that wouldn't fly. You know, you would have to hire an ugly actor, right? Because you can't play ugly now.
Yeah, you can. I think you're wrong.
You have to be original. Yeah. But yeah, of course, Catherine Keener is so great, and John Cusack.
Yep. Who would have known Catherine Keener would have really the most enduring career out of the three of them, I think. I mean, John Cusack still does stuff, but I feel like Catherine Keener has had a more prestigious career. Yeah,
and even though she's rarely like the star of her projects, and she always stands out, she's a great character actor. I think that always used to have sort of a bad connotation. It just meant that you were not the star, or you were like a smaller role. But you know, character actors can really shine. And if you compare her career to John Cusack, who of course has made some great movies early in his career, but if you look back the last 20 years, I would say like those movies are in the garbage pail. I mean, there's
for the most part
bad stuff for the most part. But yeah, Kathleen Keener is great. Always love to see her on just about anything. Comedy or serious? What do you have?
I have next. I know I'm looking at my. Oh, okay. I'm gonna go with this one. See, you'll get it. I think by the image. You got it?
No, I don't think I do.
What we have here is actually a first film, but also one I was going to use. See, I'm going to back up a second. When Colin and I were going to record this a few days ago, but I thought the theme was your first film that you ever saw, or the first film as a kid or as a teen that really influenced you.
That'd be a short show.
Yeah. Well, not necessarily. But Bugsy Malone, which came out in 1976, was Alan Parker, the filmmaker's very first film. Also, it was the very first film of Scott Baio and Jodie Foster.
Nice.
Well, I'm not sure if Jodie Foster, if this was before Taxi Driver. What year was Taxi Driver? This was 76.
Yeah, I think Taxi Driver, was like 75 or
Okay, so this maybe was her second one. But yeah, anyways, it was basically a gangster film, a classic gangster, 20s style movie, but all with kid actors, and all the guns are pies, like pie throw, like, so they shoot with these guns, and then it's like pies go in people's faces, and that's how they get killed or whatever.
That's so ridiculous.
It's completely ridiculous, and all the kids. It's sort of like Little Rascals. It had that Little Rascals energy.
I was almost going to guess Newsies. Kind of a vibe to it, right? That same
a little bit.
Yeah.
But it wasn't black and white. It was in color, but it was. I haven't seen it in a long time, but I remember I have probably seen it in the last 10 years. But I remember it came out in 76, so I was probably 9, and I just remember loving that movie. It was just, I would play it all the time.
Wow.
I couldn't play it all the time, because how do you you just watch things whenever they appear. Yeah, and I guess I must have seen it in the theater, because I don't think they aired movies on TV in the same year they came out.
Maybe you bought the VHS.
No, I don't think VHS was 76. I did buy the VHS starting in high school, though, so I want to say early 80s.
Okay.
So Bugsy Malone, Alan Parker, Scott Baio when he was talented.
Nice. I'll jump over to music. Pretty cool.
Yeah. I knew you picked this one, but I actually like Duty Now for the Future more.
Interesting.
I mean, they're both great. I mean, it's very close. It's like to me, having two best friends, and for the most part, Duty Now for the Future is what I put on more often. I think that's why I like it more.
Yeah, it was kind of cool how it came to be. I mean, they were certainly like they were a little older. They were in their 20s. They had played together for a while since college. They made a short film that was called "The Truth About De-Evolution" that got into a film festival and somehow got on the radar of David Bowie. And he was like, "Wow, these guys are awesome." A couple of their songs were in the film, and he kind of talked to Warner Brothers on their behalf and said, "You got to sign these guys. I think they're really cool." And then they thought, well, they were going to get them and they were going to get Bowie to produce the album, but he was too busy doing his own projects. And Iggy Pop also was really a champion of theirs as well. And somehow Brian Eno got on board to be the producer. And then when the album came out and they were promoting it, they were weirdly on Saturday Night Live the week after the Rolling Stones were on Saturday Night Live. And they did, Are We Not Men, but they also did Satisfaction, which I think is kind of fun. It's one of those great covers that, to me, like when I think of Satisfaction, I almost think of that song, their cover, more than I do. And it's so different. It's like a cool song. And the Satisfaction by the Stones is a great song. And you kind of put it in like the Devo verse, and it kind of comes out all like choppy and weird and interesting.
Yeah, I mean, Devo, and pretty much every cover they did was as good, if not better, than the original. They just knew how to do covers, and they were smart. They didn't do like too many of them, which they could have easily done. But
although I just discovered, I didn't realize they did a cover of "Head Like a Hole" by Nine Inch Nails. Have you heard that?
Yeah, I did. I was surprised you didn't know about it.
Yeah, I don't know where that song, why they made it or where it came out of, but it was cool.
But like "Canary in a Coal Mine," that's another great one that they did. And
they did that song?
Yeah.
No, not "Canary in a Coal Mine," "Working in a Coal Mine."
Working in a coal mine. Working like a canary in a coal mine.
Right. You're thinking of Juliana Hatfield. I think she did cover that.
That's right. Just so you know, this is 1/3 vodka. So if I start slurring, then you know why.
Yeah.
It's not me. It's the glass.
2/3 gin, right?
That's right. 1/3 vodka, 2/3 gin.
Mm-hmm. Delicious.
Well, you messed with my mind when you went to music. So I guess here I'll go. I'm gonna pick one that I feel is similar, that I like their first, and you might have liked something else more. Boom.
Well,
B-52's first album.
Yeah, that first one is pretty great. And of course the second one also.
Yeah.
Great.
I mean, I really compare it a lot to Devo, where their first two albums are so great. You could kind of go either way. But they're
funny too, like, right? Just that bright yellow.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's true.
Kind of thing.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah. That's worth a blog post. Maybe I'll write something about that. Ideas. You get one a day. Yeah. I mean, B-52 is just so classic. Rock Lobster, the most famous songs on there. Don't ask me to remember any names of any other songs because I'm over 50 and can't remember things. But I put on this album and I can't skip anything. I have to play it from beginning to end. It's like every song is a classic. Same with the second album, but this one, it could have been when it came out, and just like I remember the first school dance I ever went to. I think when I was well, it wasn't a school dance; it was a Jewish youth group dance, because I was not really part of my school so much, but I was part of the Jewish youth group. Yes, but there were like a couple hundred, 18-year-old Jews, 16 to 18-year-old Jews, and I was the DJ, so I got to pick the songs. And when this one came out, I got up from behind the DJ booth and went out and danced on the floor with everyone.
Nice. I DJ'd. The first DJ job I did was, I think it was like a 7th grade dance.
Wow.
In the basement of our school. It's this tiny room. Me and my friend Dave, we DJ'd, but I also DJ'd high school dances, and I'm sure I played like Private Idaho or something like that. It's funny because that was not the first album of theirs that I got, but I remember when I was like, I think 13, my Aunt Gail gave me a $30 gift certificate to Strawberry Records, which was a small chain in like the Boston area. And at that time, $30 you could get like 5 or 6 records.
Yeah.
And I got Party Mix. I don't know if you know that
Yeah.
one.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I think it was after maybe their second album. It's just an EP that has like extended versions of some of their songs, and I still have it. I play the shit out of that record.
I think actually, I might be wrong, but I feel like Whammy might have been the first one I ever owned and that I played, from beginning to end. I remember hearing the songs from the first 2 albums, but I don't know that I actually owned the albums because when they, until '84, I was like a heavy metal hard rock guy. I wasn't into new wave or punk until about '84. So
Yeah,
anything before that was sort of I came to it later.
I remember. I think the weirdest album is the Mesopotamia album, which it's like produced by David Byrne, and I don't know, they went to Greece or some small island in Greece and recorded that album, and it's so weird. Oh, I actually remember on that album there's a song called "Throw That Beat in the Garbage Can," and in I think it was 7th or 8th grade, we had a music class, and one of our assignments was we took a song that we liked and we would write the lyrics out and we'd give it to the teacher, and he would like mimeograph it so each person had their own copy, and then we would play it and then we would explain why we liked it. And I explained that what they were saying in that song was that pop music is garbage and you should throw it away. The stuff that was played on the radio, which in the small town I lived in did not go over really well.
Small town motherfuckers.
Yeah.
All right. What's your next one?
Next one.
And by the way, if you're wondering what that boom, 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 boom in the background is, that is a Colio masterpiece. Do you have a title for it?
It's called Background Number 2.
Background Number 2.
Yeah.
Contact Colin if you want a copy. I think they're only about $40.99.
Yeah, it's on SoundCloud. Actually, someone did comment on it the other day. They're like, "Yeah, I like this." Like, okay. So this album was 1976. Kind of would go in well with your movie there. It was made in 7 days for $6,400, which I think is pretty cool because now, bands spend so much time and so much money in the studio and things often are like overworked, but
Yeah.
they were tight. They knew what they were doing. And the Ramones, for me, like I've had the pleasure of seeing them 3 times. I would say they're weirdly better on vinyl than they are live because they're a great live band, but it all sounds very samey. It's like 1, 2, 3, 4, and the tempo of all their songs is almost the same when it's live. It's all like really fast.
Yeah.
And what was great about them is the interesting sort of dichotomy between Joey and Johnny. And Johnny was like the fast guy.
Yeah.
And Joey was like the romantic kind of ballad guy. So there always had to be like a ballad on the album that he could sing. And they're great. And that's like really cool about them is that they do have that dynamic range. It's like, of course, they're fast songs. That album has Beat on the Brat and Now I Want to Sniff Some Glue and Blitzkrieg Bop and so many good songs. And it probably comes in at like 30 minutes maybe.
Yeah, if that.
But
Yeah.
hugely influential too. So many bands could tell you that they got together because of that band
And that album.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I could pick that as my favorite, but to me, like basically their first 4 or 5 albums are all so great, and they're I could pick which one on any given day, which one I would choose.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I know it's crazy. Like of all the bands where like the members have passed on, there's not that one has just blown my mind how quickly they all died. Like within, I don't even know how many years, but it seemed like within like 6 years, suddenly they were all, and then Marky was like the last one, or he's the one that's still alive. There's one, but he was an original member who's still alive. It was like a replacement drummer who's still alive.
Right. Yeah, it was Dee Dee, I think, was the first, and then Joey and Johnny.
Yeah, Joey and Johnny were pretty close
Yeah.
together. Yeah.
Live fast, die young.
Live. Yep. Rules to live by. All right, I'm gonna pick a. I'm gonna pick an album. Here's my pick. Going to the hip hop of. Let's see. I didn't. Did I write down what year this was? Do. What does my sheet say? I did not write down the year. I'm gonna guess 88. I don't know. How's that sound? Does that sound good to you?
Yeah.
De La Soul. I liked all kind of hip hop in the 80s. This is when we were at Santa Cruz when this came out, and I just remember. I mean, I think I might have heard it on a UCSC radio show maybe for the first time, and I just liked just sort of like the regular, like kind of the nerdy hip hop. I guess they sort of got put into that flower power hip hop realm along with Tribe Called Quest and a couple other bands, but this one I just loved it, just, and I still put it on all the time.
It's interesting. I almost picked License to Ill, not because that was their first album, not because it's my favorite, but because that album was kind of a landmark in that it really it put hip hop into the mainstream. There was a ton of bands before them, certainly, but no one was as big as they were at that time. And it was also kind of a weird album because of how the band completely changed after that. I won't say they disowned that album, but they're certainly embarrassed by some of the, misogynist, lyrics and things. Juvenile. They were young.
Yeah.
They were kids, and
they felt bad because, and because it did so well, and they were, as a white rap group, they sort of felt like some of the other bands that really influenced them should have had that acclaim before they did.
Right.
So they really acknowledge, and I think their next album is the one I think that really made their mark on the hip hop world. I think the hip hop world was kind of like, who the hell are these guys off their first album, especially with a lot of they had that frat bro kind of fan base, and
exactly, and they took a really like a complete left turn. Like, the record label, of course, they wanted License to Ill Part 2. And with Rick Rubin, and they were just not interested in making that album. And they went to, they jumped to another record label. They moved from New York to LA and decided, hey, let's just build our own studio and put a skate park in there and just goof around and sample a bunch of fun records and play our own instruments. And they really they just did their own thing, which was pretty cool. I feel like they really grew so much as artists, after that first album going into the second album. It was a really cool collaboration, with the Dust Brothers. But it's funny because the first album commercially was so huge and the second album was the opposite. It was critically, like everyone talks about how great that album is and how influential it is, but it did not sell at all at the time.
Yeah, I definitely did not know it when it came out. I probably knew Girls. That one got a little bit of airplay, but
no, that was on the first album.
Oh, it was. Oh, what was the one? Hey Ladies.
Yeah, Hey Ladies.
Girls, Hey Ladies.
Right.
And then jumping. Well, we can talk about the Beastie Boys another time. We got a list to get through.
Gotta jump through. All right, I'll jump through kind of a fun movie here.
Oh.
Thank you, sir. Might have another.
I forgot he was in that.
Yeah, that was his first movie. It was a lot of firsts on that movie. So it was Kevin Bacon's first movie, and a lot of actors' opportunity to get one degree of separation from him. It was John Belushi's first film. He was
really
for Saturday Night Live. He had done that for a couple years, but this was the first film. Karen Allen also first film. What else? 1978 is when it came out. Harold Ramis first
Animal House
as a writer, and then he went on to do a bunch of indie films that you maybe probably haven't heard of, called Meatballs, Caddyshack, Ghostbusters, Back to School, Groundhog Day, Analyze This, where he was the writer, the director. But
yeah.
Yeah, but that movie was like, there's a great, like, I can't remember if it's a documentary about the making of that movie because it was just total craziness. It was almost like what you see on the screen was like what was happening kind of behind the scenes of trying to get that film made. And like a lot of smoking getting done in the writer's room.
Smoking in the boys' room. All right. You might be surprised by this pick. Eh.
Nice. No, I love that movie.
Yeah. Reality. Oh, we can do it. We can move your head to the side. We can keep it up. Other way.
Oh, I look exactly like Ethan Hawke.
You do, and I look just like Ben Stiller, or no, or maybe it's a Winona Ryder that I look like. Oh, all right. Let's get rid of them.
You know,
Enough of that.
my memory of seeing that film was when a friend and former roommate and former friend at UC Santa Cruz, Phil Benson, bought a car, and he said, "Hey, let's take a road trip. Let's go to Santa Cruz." This is when we were roommates living in San Francisco. All right, so we went to Santa Cruz, and that movie was playing. And we said, "Hey, let's see this movie, a matinee," and we did, and it was awesome.
Yeah. What year was that? That was 94. So yeah. All right. Yeah, and it was Ben Stiller's first directing role. And it's great. He's done a lot of great films after that. But yeah, this one for me was the most influential to me. I thought it was his, the one I can watch over and over. And a lot of people, it was a controversial film because a lot of people just did not like Ethan Hawke. I think because of his character. I mean, I don't know why. He sort of got pigeonholed because of this movie as kind of
Right.
the greasy,
Kind of Lothario
yeah,
guy. Yeah.
yeah,
Man. Yeah.
grungy, that sort of grungy representation.
Right.
But I just like I thought it was one of those rare movies where you really, I mean, I kind of liked him, and I liked Ben Stiller. I mean, Ben Stiller was really obnoxious and kind of annoying in his way.
Yeah, he was like the counterpart, the conservative, kind of buttoned up.
Yeah.
Like she had like two kind of not good options, like the super cool
Yeah.
guy, that was probably not going to be faithful, and then the guy that was too straight laced, that was like nice, but not too cool.
I'm wondering, yeah, I mean, maybe it's another first for Janine Garofalo. Maybe she did a film before that. It might have been her first. It was the first I knew about her.
Right. Yeah. No, I don't think so. I think for me, it really resonated because at the time that it came out, we were only a few years out of college, and that's exactly the time period it is, like right after college for these. And so, yeah, it really hit home with like that feeling of like, when you're in college, you have a pretty easy community of friends and everything's
Yep.
like really close
Yep.
by. It's very like an idealistic kind of world, and you get out into the real world, and now all of a sudden you have to find that community again, and it's hard. But yeah, really captured that.
And all of them have been doing great stuff ever since.
That's
and even
right.
and even before.
I'll ask you, but don't answer because you know the answer. But I'll ask the audience: what was the first MP3 song? I'll give you a hint. That's right, and I'll give you another hint, which is I am sitting in the morning at the diner on the corner. I am waiting at the counter for the man to pour the coffee, and he fills it only halfway. And before I even argue, he is looking out the window at somebody.
I had to mute you because it was just too much.
Too much?
Yeah, it was just too much. There was a point. There was a point where I'm like, okay. I mean, it wasn't because you're singing. It was because of nostalgia, just overcoming my psyche. Yeah.
Yeah. It's kind of interesting story of the guy that was one of the inventors or the inventor of the MP3, and he needed some source material. And so I guess he picked that song because it was an a cappella song, so he could just focus on the voice. And so we used it, and he listened to it like hundreds of times to try to, when he was working on the compression, to get something that was small but also would retain the quality of her voice. This was
Yeah.
unbeknownst to that's Suzanne Vega, if you didn't know. And from her second album, Solitude Standing, but she became sort of known as the mother of the MP3 after that came out.
Who would have known? I never knew who the mother of MP3 was
Yeah,
before.
there's a kind of a cool picture because that Tom's Diner, which you might recognize as being the from Seinfeld, which was the diner that they used the exterior for. But oh, where'd it go?
What are you looking for?
Oh, I thought I had a picture of Suzanne Vega. But that's right. So was it? There's an actual that's the actual diner that she would hang out in near where she lived in Brooklyn.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I'm gonna go stay in the music realm, and this one will give it away in a split second. Boom. Boom. And this one is kind of a no-brainer. A no-brainer for me. I mean, to me, No Pretenders album reaches the heights of their very first album. I mean, I really like Pretenders 2, and I really like what is their third one? What's their third one? Yeah, God damn it, I would know it if I blame the alcohol. It's the one with I went down to Ohio, my city was gone. What's that one called? Something about. God damn it, you're supposed to look it up.
You should know.
Oh yeah, I should know. I didn't do any research. Fuck research.
What were the songs on the first one?
Brass in Pocket. Oh my god.
Was
Don't ask me to remember all the song names, but pretty much every song.
Tattooed Space Invaders?
Yeah.
I love that song.
It has pretty much like all like their first 4 hits were on this. Pretty much every song on this is great, and there's the instrumentation. I mean, basically the first 2 albums were made with this lineup before. I can't remember the names, but the guitarist and bassist died of heroin overdoses really soon after, and so all that was left was the drummer. So she pretty much had to create a whole new band for their third album, and was successful. But it was a completely different sound. But she was hated being lumped into the punk rock world. I didn't know that until I heard an interview with her. She was just more into like soul and R&B and just she was just like she was not really so influenced by like the punk rock that was before their peers sort of.
Yeah, I read her memoir. Really,
like Stop Your Sobbing was on that.
Right. Yeah, I would highly recommend the memoir. It's really, really good about her early start in Ohio and then living in London for a while and learning how to play guitar. And I got to see them recently. I guess it was maybe a year or 2 years ago in concert, and I didn't realize.
Wait, what's a concert? I'm not familiar with that word, concert.
I know, it seems crazy, right? That we used to be able to go out with a group of people and see live music. But she was like just such a rock star. She's like physically, she's like really tall, and she just owns the stage. And it was just like such a joy to see her. I'm trying to think of a comparison of like a woman that was like so like such a strong like front person, like I feel like Debbie Harry, but maybe because she was like kind of diminutive, I didn't like. I mean, she was like she's a great singer and beautiful and everything, but there's something about Chrissie Hynde that's just like really powerful.
Yeah, and
like yeah.
I know. Yeah, I don't know if Patti Smith necessarily fills that role or not, but she kind of had that, at least especially live, had that kind of like presence where you just can't look anywhere else.
Right. I mean, for me, like completely different personality, but like Laurie Anderson has that really cool stage presence where she just kind of owns the stage, and she's so into, all different kinds of media and stuff that it's just like really interesting to watch. I'll do a quick funny one. Who's that? Not that.
I don't know.
That was Benicio del Toro.
Oh.
His first film, Pee-wee's Big Top.
Wow.
Yeah.
He's only gone downhill from then.
Right. No, that's been interesting.
I'm
He
just
was
kidding. I'm
in
kidding. It was a joke.
the Ben Stiller, right? Mini series right
Yeah.
for Showtime.
Yeah.
That was really, really great. Yeah.
Yeah. Breakfast at Dannemora.
Yeah. So good. It was Duke the dog-faced boy. That was his character in Big Top Pee-wee, the unfortunate sequel to
Who was in the sequel?
yeah.
Oh, no wonder. I'm like, why do I not remember him? I probably did see Big Top Pee Wee, but maybe it was so long ago that I blocked it out or
But I
forgot.
still think it was Mark Mothersbaugh did the music for it, I think.
Yeah, he did music for a lot of stuff. Yeah. Well, that was exciting. I'm gonna go in a new realm here. I'm gonna go with why is this one in there? Motley Crue. Too Fast for Love. Too fast for love. This was let's see. This was the year. The year was 1981. It actually was 1980. It might have come out in 82 original, like the remake. What happened was this album came out on a label called Leather Records originally, and this is when I was living in Southern California, and that's where they were. And there was this. I was really into heavy metal at the time, and any band with big hair, when I go to the record stores, I'm like, "Ooh, who's that?" And I remember I saw that Motley Crue record, so I bought it, and literally like 2 months later, they got picked up by whatever label signed them, and they re-recorded the album like song by song. They basically bought out all the old albums. There's only a few hundred of them, and re-released it with the same name and the same image on the cover, and the re-release sucked, in my opinion. The original was so much better, and I actually have it. And people on eBay, I haven't checked in a while, but at one point they were offering $500 for it. But mine's not in mint condition or anything, so I'm like, I figure I might as well just keep it until this pandemic gets worse and worse, and I need to make some money. Or until this podcast, goes viral and we make our millions. You sound excited by that.
So this album, and then because I know them from the Shouting at the Devil album.
Yeah,
that was their second one, right?
It was the second or third. I should look that up.
Yeah, which I love. I love that album. So great.
Yeah, I mean, I still appreciate Motley Crue. I mean, if they came out in concert again, and there was no pandemic, I would definitely go see them.
They were going to do a big tour, I think.
Shout at the Devil, second album, 83.
Yeah.
Third album was Theater of Pain, and fourth was Girls, Girls, Girls. The fifth one was Dr. Feelgood, which All Music is saying is their best one, but I don't think so. That sounds like bullshit.
That's straight up wrong.
That's straight up wrong. Oh, I have to look to see. I was looking up, and I don't want to start any rumors, but I thought it just said that Chris France died, but I don't want to. What? Chris France? No. Okay. It was in this thing where they listed someone else who died, but he just put out a new memoir, Chris Friends of the Talking Heads. That was the headline on the site I go to for my music information.
The headline says Chris Franz not dead.
Not dead. It has new memoir called Not Dead.
I'm not dead. Is he still married to Tina Weymouth?
I think so.
Yeah.
But I think they have an open marriage. From in case you're interested.
Yeah. Tina, call me.
Yeah, so Motley Crue, they're one of my early heavy metal favorites. I have to say, over time I kind of stopped, they went down in the list. They were not cool to like anymore, and I'm all about being cool. Not.
Well, I'll jump to this band right here.
Oh, live album covers. Amoeba. It says Amoeba. Is that just for the cover, or is that where you bought it?
No, that's where I bought it. So this was 1978, and I think who was it that I think it was I forget which of the band members, but they jokingly said like when the album came out that they should call it the Cars' Greatest Hits, which is kind of a funny, like in hindsight, it's a kind of a funny joke because there were so many songs on this record that were like kind of radio staples for so long, and there's probably 4 songs or 5 that are
Still
on their
staples,
Greatest album. There's only 9 songs on the record, which I think is kind of cool. But it's like Good Times Roll, My Best Friend's Girl, Just What I Needed. That's like the first 3 songs, right?
Yeah.
Huge. You're All I've Got Tonight, Bye Bye Love, Moving in Stereo, all mixed up. I mean, it's like every song is so great.
Yeah, I mean, they're probably. I mean, as much as I love Candio, I can't. That really stands out as being such like a perfect first album.
Yeah. It's rated. You'll see it in lists. It comes in like a lot of like top 10, top 20, like first album, first great albums. That record was on the charts for 139 weeks. And their second album was great. Obviously, Candio was a really great album. They kept going. Panorama, Shake It Up, pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, Shake It Up was probably their most like biggest seller.
Commercial, yeah.
Commercial.
Yeah.
Right.
Probably Heartbeat City, though, because by then, with the videos.
Oh, right.
Yeah. But I unfortunately did not see them in the heyday of, when Benjamin Orr was still alive, but rather when they did a tour without Benjamin Orr, and was not great.
Yeah, I heard. And that wasn't the one when
Todd Rundgren? No,
yeah.
it was not. That was the Newcomers. Yeah.
I heard that was even worse than the.
Yeah. Well, Rick Ocasek wasn't part of that, so yeah, that was no good.
That I mean, to even do it without Rick Ocasek and Bandit Orr is just.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
That's like doing Led Zeppelin without Robert Plant or Jimmy Page.
Right. Well, it was like Jay Giles, like they put out an album after Freeze Frame when Peter Wolf had left the group. And that was a big group. There were a lot of guys in that group. And and it's kind of funny. Like I really like that album. It's called You're Getting Even While I'm Getting Odd. But it went nowhere, obviously.
All right, I think we should tidy this up and maybe do one more pick each.
Okay.
You have to pick music or movie. I'm trying to decide. What do I want to promote? I'm gonna go. Oh, this is tough. I'm gonna go with movie. Boom. Gonna go here. Rob Reiner's first film. This is Spinal Tap.
All those actors.
Yeah, another class. I mean, Rob Reiner would go on to make several more. I mean, if When Harry Met Sally was his first film, that might have been on my list. But I mean, yeah. I mean, it's like every scene is a classic scene. Like Fast Times at Ridgemont High, like Spinal Tap. Every scene is a quotable scene.
That film was 100% casting and chemistry. Obviously, those guys were all amazing improv actors, and they just happened to be also great musicians. Like, how did that happen? It's so bizarre. And that when the 4 of them with Reiner got together to write this, it was just pure magic, and so many bands like will tell you they saw that movie, they're like, oh yeah, that's our life right there. Yeah, there's so many great scenes, and it's one of those films like you mentioned. I forget what the other one was, but that when it comes on, you just watch it all the way through, and it's so great. So many,
I mean, there might have been mockumentaries before that. I can't think of any. Maybe Real Life was like Albert Brooks might have came before that, but this just like was sort of like, I feel like this was the influence of so many films that came after in
Yeah,
that mockumentary style.
but weirdly not for Christopher Guest. Like I don't know if you saw his first movie. I can't remember which was with Kevin Bacon, by the way. I'm trying to remember the name of it, but it was a sweet little film about a guy who goes to Hollywood to make a.
Oh,
Remember
yeah,
that one?
yeah. I
Yeah,
didn't know that was Christopher Guest.
yeah, that was his first movie, which is weird because you would think,
Oh,
Duffman or Best in Show or those movies, which have a sort of similar, I guess, sort of tone from Spinal Tap, where he did the same thing. He got these great, improv actors and just like, hey, let's, figure out figure out this story. I mean, he is more like scripted than you think. I mean, he definitely has all the scenes, you know, like an outline for all the scenes, and then
yeah.
he lets the actors like contribute and then guides
Yeah.
them.
It sounds like, well, maybe a little bit more pre-planned than Curb Your Enthusiasm, but Curb Your Enthusiasm, they have like a structure of what they want to happen, and then the
Yeah,
actors just get to improvise.
right. Yeah. Wow, this is hard. If I only have to pick one, let me think.
Is it going to be a song, or I mean, an album, or a movie? I am flipping a coin in my head.
Well, I'm going to do kind of a surprise because this is a recent film, and we talked about when you have a body of work, you can look at the first one and you can compare it to what they did after. But there's also the case where you can just out of the box, you introduce yourself as a writer, director, and that's Eighth Grade, which I believe came out last year or 2 years ago.
2 years.
Yeah, which we were lucky enough to see at the film festival.
Yeah, San Francisco Film Festival.
And Bo Burnham, if you don't know, is a stand-up comedian. He's been doing stand-up for a while, and just interesting that I didn't know that he was interested in directing and that he wrote the story. And then, of course, that's the same thing with like here's him and the actress whose name I don't remember, but she was also really great. But it's like a really sweet, like fun movie about like I guess like about like coming of age in like with the social media and what that means for young people, because that's pretty different than when we were that age. There was nothing like that. For us it was like you literally passed a note to your friend in school and or they passed it to someone else. That's how you communicated. You weren't like DMing each other or whatever. Which is
you actually had to show up on time at the place you said you were going to meet at.
Yeah, exactly. But anyway, Eighth Grade. I'm sure you can find it, on Amazon or whatever. But I would definitely recommend checking it out, and we'll see what he does next. That's definitely someone like when they come out with like a really good movie, they get on your radar, and then you're like, and then they hope they don't have the sophomore slump, which will be our next episode.
Oh, yeah, that's a good idea. Oh, now that you said it, we have to do that. Damn it.
Foreshadowing.
Yeah, I kind of wonder because this was such a passion project for him that I think you just might have to wait until that comes to him. I mean, it could be a while.
Right.
Those kind of things don't happen every year.
Yeah, I mean, it could be that's what it just sort of everything fell into place for him to make that movie. But maybe he doesn't love the idea of making movies. I'll just like really quickly just throw that up, just because that's a guy who went from this very like popular known comedy duo, and then he made a horror movie, and it seemed like a weird turn. But if you hear him talk, you'd be like, oh, I've always wanted to make those kind of movies. And he's since made another movie, which I didn't see the second one. But that's a guy that's going to just keep making a bunch of movies for sure.
Yep.
And who was that?
What are you doing? More. If you're going to do it, I'm doing my sneak thing in there. That one at the end was Chameleon Street. I'm going to just put a shout out to this. look for it. It's really hard to find. It came out in 90. Let's see. My list says. The list says it's not on my list. God damn it. No, whatever it is. 90, 91. I can't remember. But it is the only. This is one where it was the only film that Wendell B. What is his name? It's on my list. Wendell B. Harris Jr. And it was 89, actually. Same year as Sex Lies Videotape. In fact, I think this film won Best Film at Sundance instead of Sex Lies and Videotape, or one of those festivals. It was those two were competing against each other, and everyone was really wondering if where Wendell, I want to get his name right, Wendell B. Harris Jr., who was actually the star in it as well, what he was going to do next. And this was basically about a guy who was a chameleon, and he basically would impersonate. He would go and pretend he was a surgeon at a hospital and go there, and a lead surgeon, and go and actually fake doing a surgery and do all these crazy, pretend he was a lawyer at a law firm, and he would eventually get arrested, and he spent half of his life in prison, and he'd get out and impersonate some other high official somewhere, and that was just like his thing, and it was just really amazing. So
that director got ruined by getting prestige for that.
Yeah. Yep.
Whereas Soderbergh, I feel like Sex Lies on Videotape was at Cannes or something, and maybe won something there. That was a movie that was on my list as well. Obviously, he went on to
have a horrible career.
Yeah, horrible. I just have to quickly, just because we didn't mention books, and we're going to look stupid if we don't at least mention one author, so I'll just throw that up there. One of my favorite, which is the beautiful Nick Hornby. One of the interesting, just because so many of his books have turned into movies or TV, and of course, High Fidelity was his first book, which is great, and the adaptation that John Cusack did, which taking the setting from a London record store to a Chicago record store, totally worked. And then the picture there is with Zoe Kravitz, and I would definitely highly recommend, if you like the movie and or the book, to watch the Hulu series of based on the book and the movie, which is also. Did you watch it? Have you seen it?
I only saw like the first 1 or 2 episodes.
Yeah, I thought it was kind of cool.
I need to get back to it.
With the series, obviously, you have more than 2 hours, so you can really develop more.
Yeah, it felt very different than the book. I mean, they didn't even get to the looking for the ex partners in the first couple episodes.
Yeah, she kind of focuses more on one, but there's also some standalone episodes where just one of the minor characters from the record store has his own basic episode.
Yeah,
looking for his, lost.
I mean, I think that's smart to not try to recreate the book, especially if you're doing a series that you expect to do many seasons of.
Yeah, it's really would highly recommend it. But also his other books like Fever Pitch, which was turned into 2 different movies. A movie which was set, the story is based on kind of a rabid soccer fan, because he's British. And Colin Firth was in the first movie of Fever Pitch. And then, of course, Jimmy Fallon and Drew Barrymore were in the second one, which has a place in my heart because it's about Red Sox fans. So it's a beautiful thing.
All right. Well,
yes. We will say that if you have ideas, if you would, in your comments, put down some of your favorite first, books, records, movies, TV shows, we'd love to see that. And if you have ideas for what you'd like us to talk about in the future.
Also, we are considering doing this as a live stream in the future, and not a pre-recorded live stream or pre-recorded posting, or whatever the right terminology is. So, which in that case, we would basically like to get feedback during the show live as to what. In fact, this show would have been so much better if you were part of it. No, somewhat a little bit better, maybe.
But when we do the live show, it'll be at 3 a.m. So just be aware of that.
Yes, 3 a.m. The party hour. But we will promote those ones on both Facebook and YouTube. So basically, let us know if that's something that you would be interested in. Anyways, this is Stephen Colin. Very good show. Signing off at the 1 hour point.